snack has played a huge part in my training camp. The protein, the ZMA, everything, the pre-workout, it's played such a major part in my training camp, keeping me healthy, keeping me recovered, keeping me feeling good, strong, and ready for my next workout.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's Marcos, and wish I was doing this video under honestly better circumstances in light of everything that's happening with the coronavirus. First and foremost, just want to convey this message: social distance, take care of your guys' selves, take care of each other, look over your grandparents and your neighbors and the older population. It's very important that we all go ahead and do this as to kind of bend the curve so that our health systems and hospitals don't get overloaded. I hope all you guys are doing well. I've been cooped up here at my place, which prompted me to do this finally, which is something I've been wanting to do. I don't know if this constitutes me being a vlogger or anything like that, but the reason why I set this up, and for the longest time, I've spent 10 years covering this sport. And I have a lot of stories, and I have a lot of insight and commentary that I've always wanted to add to like certain interviews that I've done or like certain fight weeks. And I felt, this was the perfect opportunity in light of the circumstances to go ahead and do that. And, the second important thing that I wanted to say is to send out my condolences, because this is the theme of the video that I'm doing today, is to share my memories of Roger Mayweather. So my condolences, first and foremost, go out to the Mayweather family, to Floyd Mayweather, who's going through a lot right now, given the loss of Josie and now his uncle Roger Mayweather, and the extended friends and family that knew Roger. Oh man, where to start? Boxing is a sport that has the most unique, memorable, and craziest personalities. And say like an hour ago, I spent a good time thinking, why is that? Why is it that boxing attracts like the craziest personalities? And I started really thinking, I'm like, is it because, it's a sport where you have so many people from so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures all coming together, that, they bring their own personal experiences to it. Is that the reason why? Is the reason why that because it's such a brutal and demanding sport, those that are in it as fighters and as trainers, come with a different mentality or cut from a different cloth, because it's so demanding physically and mentally that they are unique. And when you look at it on the pantheon of other athletes, and you compare boxers and even this industry compared to the people in the other sports, the boxers, the trainers really are unique. And I thought about what made Roger Mayweather unique. And it was a lot of things, honestly. Me coming into this as a fan first, and then falling into the role that I had, the first interaction, or not even interaction, the first imprint that I had of Roger was from the HBO 24/7s. And seeing him and his personality, and I thought, man, this sport has just crazy people in it, like just characters like Don King, Bob Arum, Roger Mayweather, Burt Sugar, like all these guys. And I just thought, like, these guys are crazy characters. Like, it'd be the coolest thing one day to be able to meet these guys, because really they do leave an impression on you. And that day for me was actually 10 years ago. To give you some background on it, was to get to this, I had to go through like our archive footage, and this is like 10 years worth of stuff. And I pulled up a lot of interviews that I did with Roger, and now like I'm so glad that I got to do interviews with him and I got to interact with him, because now I have something to not only share with you guys, but to look back on and be like, you know what, I was lucky to go ahead and have these interactions with him. You know, this is what made him so memorable, and it brought up a lot of happy memories looking at these old clips, and I'm going to go through them with you. But it was his honesty, his isms, you know, his sayings, how he would interact with us, the media, and sometimes it'd be the funniest interactions. Like he'd look at us and like give us this look like, man, you guys stupid, and like he was always trying to educate us, which I really, you know, coming in, I wasn't the most educated person in boxing. Honestly, I didn't even know like too much about boxing, and I always was like a wet sponge when he would say something, because I knew he would say something either memorable or golden. And going through this footage, it really hit that back. So I'm going to give you some preferences. This is the very first interaction I've ever had with Roger Mayweather. You know, it was 10 years ago at the Mayweather-Mosley press conference. It was happening in LA. I was just barely starting out. I was maybe 4 or 5 months in. And I'm going to do a separate video on this because I actually ended up landing a interview with Floyd Mayweather that was like 6 minutes exclusive, that he did a lot and said a lot in that interview that made a lot of the promoters take me seriously in this role. But I had to lie to get in. So PR people, I think it was Swanson that was in charge of it at the time. I'm sorry, cat's out of the bag. I lied my way in there because I was such a small outlet and no one took me seriously at the time. That was the only way. And at that point, I had to make this work because it was the only thing that I had. I had no other option but to make it work. So I lied my way in there, and it's like a hot summer day, and it's in LA, and it's like 90 degrees. And I thought, like, man, like, why are these guys? This is one thing with boxing. They have press conference outside, and it drives us nuts because it's hot. You get sunburned. Like, people start passing out. Our camera equipment starts overheating. And this is exactly what happened at this press conference. One of the ring girls actually passed out. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the clip, what it looks like.
Great trainer, and you guys know him. He has trained the likes of know him. He has trained the likes of Hopkins.
Wait, film the reaction. Film the reaction. Film motion. Give me the water. Film Floyd,
So you can hear me saying, film the reaction, film Floyd, because this was happening and we saw it happening and everybody's freaking out. And I see Oscar throws like a bottle of water to give to the ring girl. And I hope to God that wasn't Janira. I don't know who it was. It's blurry, as you can tell. This was taken 10 years ago. If it was you, Janira, let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram. But Floyd was cracking up. You can hear me, get Floyd's reaction, because he was laughing. And I thought, like, oh, man, that sucks. So, you know, it started with that. And then they have the final face-off between Shane and Floyd. And when it got to that point, I was stressed out because I tried to get an interview with Oscar. He only allowed me to, because, you know, it was just a crazy press conference. And I was only allowed to get like 2 questions in with them. And it was like 40 seconds. After that, I tried to get Shane Mosley. That was like 30 seconds. I tried to, you know, randomly, Joe Calzaghe was there. And I asked him for an interview and he told me no, he just blew me off. Ray J was there, but he was in a hurry and he got shuttled off. So I was like, man, like I got to get stuff. So I'm stressed out and I see Roger in front of me. And honestly, I was kind of nervous because I was worried that he was going to say something or like, I don't know. I wasn't used to interviewing these people yet because I was so new. So when I saw him, I was kind of like, oh my God, that's Roger. So I went ahead and went up to him and I interviewed him and he gave me just the most golden soundbite that I didn't even know at the time that I had set up, that I was queuing for. I was just asking questions and he gave me this.
I don't know what the fuck he on. But whatever he on, if he probably my nephew he ain't on that shit, he gonna get his ass whooped too.
Now, with Shane, do you see his speed as any threat to Floyd?
Why? You think he's faster than Floyd?
Honestly, no, I don't. But there's a lot of riders that seem to think he is.
Well, a lot of riders don't know shit about boxing. So it was, first off, it ain't about hand speed anyway. Skill wins fucking fights. That has nothing to do with it. And Floyd's the most skilled motherfucker in the sport of boxing. So it ain't about hand speed, this, that, the other, boom. That has nothing to do with nothing. Skill up here. You gotta be able to outthink a motherfucker. That's what wins fights. And that's what Floyd do. He outthink him. That's why he beat him.
So when he told me that soundbite, most fighters don't know shit about boxing, I was like, oh my God, he said it. I'd only heard him say these things on the TV, and he told me, and I didn't even know, I queued it up when I said well, most writers think this, and he said it. Now my inner fanboy was like, ah, that was a golden soundbite. Because here's the thing. From what I remember, and even up to the last time that I saw Roger, people would bring up that quote and tell him to say that. But it was very rare at that time, or at least me and my observations, for him to organically say that. Most people don't know shit about boxing, or most writers don't know shit about boxing. So for him to say it during one of my first interviews, it was my inner fanboy was going crazy. And then after that, I went ahead and scored an interview with Floyd, but that's going to be a different video that I'm going to share with you, because that was an interesting thing too. And I'll give you more backstory as to how I got into the event, because I shouldn't have done it, but hey man, I was really desperate at the time. I needed to make a name for myself. Now with that given said, the thing that I took away from looking at all these old clips, and you're going to see these clips from Roger, was that it was always cool seeing him, because he'd always tell you two things, or at least with me, he'd always tell me two things. I remember the second time I saw him, and I don't know if he would say it because, I'm Mexican, obviously, and it's funny because I'm wearing a Durant shirt right now. But he'd always quiz me hey, who's the greatest Latin fighter ever? And me being young and not knowing boxing as much, I remember one time I said Chavez, and he gave me this look dude, are you stupid? No, it's Duran. And he would always bring this up with other people as well. And the other thing is, he would always make it a point that the best fighters in boxing history always came from where he came from the Midwest. And he always would be quizzing people on their boxing history. And I would soak it up. I thought it was the coolest thing. Other people would look at it kind of hey, what's going on here? What is he doing? Or is he trying to make me look foolish? But I think, honestly, Roger was a fan of the sport, and he knew his stuff. And, that saying, most people don't know shit about boxing, is because he knew so much about the sport. I'm going to show you some clips now of him bringing up those points about the Duran and fighters from the Midwest.
And that's the whole thing about boxing. Boxing is a thinking man's game. It's up here. That's what boxing is about. It's what's up here. That's what you take in that ring.
What's kept Floyd so sharp up here?
What's kept him, because he's a thinker. Thinkers are great fighters. Thinkers are great fighters. And whether people know boxing or not, the greatest fighters come from where I come from, period. The Midwest. That's where your greatest fighters come from. That's where James Toney come from. That's where Ray Robinson come from. That's where Joe Louis come from. All them guys come from the Midwest. So Floyd is a boy from the Midwest. Well, he along with the legends in boxing. So that's what we're gonna see. I'm gonna tell you one thing. Now, you say Duran is one of the greatest fighters ever.
Greatest Latin fighter.
Yeah, greatest Latin fighter ever. Yeah, and you got guy Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson from where I'm from. Joe Louis is where I'm from too.
Yeah, no, I know.
But that's okay. But think
Floyd's toughest fights in recent years have been when he's fought at 154 pounds. Do you think that your nephew has the ability to, if he desired to, fight for the middleweight title and do something that really hasn't been done since, like, Henry Armstrong and climb that high up in weight?
you know about boxing. You know about boxing. See Henry Armstrong. The last guy after Henry Armstrong was who?
The last guy to
Go fight for a middleweight title. Won it.
and win it?
Win it, yeah.
What was the question, man?
From 135?
Yeah. See, I'm asking you. Borough Durant.
Oh, Durant.
Boxing is a thinking man's game. That's what makes great fighters. The greatest, you start talking about where the greatest fighters come from, the greatest fighters come from where I come from. Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Aaron Pryor, Buster Douglas, all them dudes come from where I come from.
Yeah, that was Roger. And if you knew your boxing history, like his eyes would light up, like as you could tell on the clip where they were talking about Duran moving from 135 from lightweight to win the middleweight title, and he said like, "Hey, you know your boxing." That wasn't me, by the way, that asked that question. It's actually Mark Ortega, who's with Fox now. But like his responses sometimes too, when like we would interview him, was like also the other thing, because he never knew what you were gonna get. Like when you interviewed Roger, and the same goes for Floyd Mayweather Sr. as well. Like you never know like what kind of response you're gonna get, and that's what makes it a joy to go ahead and interview them and personalities like that, because you never know what's gonna happen. And here's some of those responses that Roger gave me or other reporters.
What you say?
That Guerrero feels that he's the strongest opponent Floyd will face mentally. He's mentally stronger than any of Floyd's opponents.
I ain't never seen a motherfucker because he believed what he believed don't mean anything. The whole thing, boxing is about what you know. A person can say anything he wants, but until you get up in here and face the one that you supposed to believe that can't beat you, he already know one thing. Floyd ain't never been beat.
A lot of people have said that Maidana is the hardest puncher that Floyd's faced, and a lot of people have said that they feel that he punches harder than Cotto. What do you think strength and power will have it in the fight?
Cotto ain't the hardest puncher. The hardest puncher for a fight is De La Hoya. It ain't no Cotto. Hard punch, De La Hoya punch harder than Cotto. That's it. But what happened with De La Hoya? It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about what you know.
It's about what you know, and Roger knew a hell of a lot about the sport. I don't know around like what time frame, but we started seeing less and less of Roger at the media events. I don't know if it was like for Floyd's fight with Berto, he wouldn't do mitts anymore. I know it was before that, but I don't know exactly which fight. It might have been the second Maidana fight, or maybe after the Pacquiao fight. But we kept hearing things that his health was failing and it wasn't good. And Floyd would bring in, I believe his name is Nate, on the body shield to work out with them, and his dad would start doing mitts with them. And we didn't see much of Roger anymore. And honestly, it sucked. The Mayweather workouts, I miss them, man. They were fun, dude. Like Floyd would put on a show when he'd have the workouts, and he'd have like the music blasting, and he'd be all hyped up, and you'd have random people coming. Like 50 Cent showed up one time to a workout. David Hasselhoff showed up. David Hasselhoff showed up for the Mayweather Pacquiao workout, for his workout when he was training for Manny Pacquiao, which was random. We were looking at him like, what the hell is Hasselhoff doing over here? So you always get random people, but it was always the ones that us as media would always look forward to was Floyd Sr. and Roger and Raphael, because they're just characters, and we knew they'd give us good stuff, and they're just full of personality. So when Floyd continued to do his workouts, it was a little bit different, honestly. You know, it's because we were so used to Roger working the mitts with him, and then when he wasn't there, it's just a little bit of the magic I feel on our end as observers and experiencing it was a bit lost. But you know, given that we hadn't seen Roger for a long time, people that worked this beat, and then in 2015, the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame announced that they were inducting Roger into the Hall of Fame, and there had been maybe an interview or two that we were doing with Roger. I'm starting to remember that I did do one, and I just decided not to put it up because you could tell that Roger was in bad shape. But when we saw him at the Hall of Fame, it really put a smile on my face. And seeing this clip a little while ago, I'm going to go ahead and roll it. And after I saw it, I got a big smile because he was excited. He looked good, and he was happy about getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Roger, to you, how's it feel to be inducted here tonight? And how's it feel seeing everybody over here in Las Vegas?
I ain't got old. I ain't got old now. So I thought I was gonna be inducted when I was young, real young man, but I guess that's part of boxing.
To you, what sticks out most to you from when you were an active fighter?
Like a guy like Vinny Pazian, I boxed another guy too, the guy with Camacho. I used to box him too, but Vinny Pazian is probably pretty much is one of the guys that I fought, and he talked so much, but that's how it goes. And I beat him, so.
I'm back over here, but it's not going to be an hour speech. I'm going to speak on behalf of former two-time world champion and one of my trainers, Roger the Black Mamba Mayweather. Roger, I want to just thank everyone for coming out. We want to thank the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame for inducting him. He's very appreciative, he's very thankful. And of course he's not in the best shape right now. That's why I'm up here, but he's working hard every day. And we're steady getting the job done. So we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate everyone.
So you just saw Floyd inducting his uncle at the 2015 Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. So it's funny that Floyd mentioned, and if you catch it, I know the audio is a little bit bad, but you can hear it, that he wasn't going to talk for very long because prior to that, he literally spoke for like 40 minutes. He was awarded Fighter of the Year, and I think he was in camp for Andre Berto. And he spoke for like 40 minutes about a lot of stuff. We actually posted the video, and it's there. If you look up Floyd Mayweather, Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame 2015 speech, it'll come up, and he was just talking about the importance of being a defensive fighter, and he did bring up how fighters are damaged, and that's why he made a decision to switch up his style and be as defensive as he is, and you know, when you look at the context of how boxers end up at times, you know, he brought up a valid point, but it meant a lot for Floyd, I feel, to go ahead and induct his uncle, seeing that he had been such an integral part of his career and had trained him for more than 15 years, I believe. You know, given the what happened with his father, having to go to jail and all that, and you could tell it meant a lot to Floyd, and that the words that he shared, that, you know, he's speaking to him because, you know, we all heard that Roger wasn't doing too well health-wise, but he looked great, and when I see that, it's a genuine smile on my part, because he was good, like, and that honor, with him getting inducted, it brought energy to him, and it's one of the last few times I saw Roger, honestly. You know, after that, we didn't get to see much of him. I would ask people around the team, you know, hey, how's Roger doing? And they tell me, like, hey, you know, he's managing, you know, with, I believe he had diabetes, managing all that. And yeah, it's a bummer, to be honest. He was truly a unique character. And the one thing that came off the top of my head when I was doing this and thinking about doing this was that he always made time for the kids at the club. And every time I'd go to the Mayweather Boxing Club, even when there wasn't events for Floyd, there was a few times that I would just randomly, like, pop in and out. He'd be working with the kids, and he'd always be teaching them stuff and telling them to correct their technique, and that always stuck with me. I think that says a lot about a person, as a trainer, that he does that and gives special attention to the kids and to the future of the sport. I think that says a lot. That shows you that their intentions are pure, and they really love their sport, and they're giving back. And when it was announced that he had passed away, that was the first thing that came to my mind, was that, like, man, I remember going to the Mayweather Boxing Club and him teaching the kids, and always willing to talk to us, and just being funny as hell, and just being a memorable character. Thank you, Roger, for always giving time to me and interviews. He will be missed. He was a unique character, and one that left a impression on me as well. Rest in peace, Roger Mayweather. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and leave you with a little short compilation of these responses that he would give me in interviews. They were always colorful and always memorable.
I understand.
But they ain't got nothing to do with Floyd gonna beat his ass anyway.
Well, let me. De La Hoya say he beat Mayweather. That Mayweather's not beatable. So, is there a chance for Canelo to knock out Mayweather?
Say again what you said?
De La Hoya said that he beat Mayweather.
I just said, say that again. Wait, what the fuck you say?
Yeah, De La Hoya said that he beat Mayweather when, you know, supposedly he beat Mayweather. We all know he didn't, but he said that he did.
Wait. You know he didn't?
I know he didn't. I saw that.
You know he didn't?
No, he didn't.
Did you know he didn't?
He said he did.
Did you know he didn't? What about you? What about you?
I don't think he did.
Nobody know about him. He beat Floyd but him.
Exactly.
Well, that's how it always goes.
So you think just...
Well, I just tell you, I can't say nothing about that. How great, how fast he is. You mean to tell me a guy come from like damn near 200 pounds is faster than my nephew? Huh? Could that be possible? I didn't think so.
I've never been in the main event on a pay-per-view. It's always been on the undercard. Do you think that the pressure might get to him and he may not even know what to expect from fight night?
Well, if the pressure don't get to him or the pressure do get to him, you're going to get an ass whipping anyway. It don't make no difference. Skills pay the bill.
Roger, it's always great to chat with you. I know you have a message here for all your doubters right here. Your shirt right here.
They say that the haters, Lord have mercy.
Here with
those are the guys that don't believe, so if they don't believe it, that's okay. You got to keep making them believe. That's it.